Hola a todos, bonjour à tous, welcome, hello everybody. My name is Damien Rohrbach. Okay, so today I want to show and talk about high jewelry design and some very simple realities about our job. This is a ring I started doing during teaching. It's the design from a client, and they need to learn how to do this type of designs. So I'm not finished yet. I still have to make the prong setting for the body of the ring. The rest of the ring is very interesting. It's a very big emerald set in yellow gold with really big prongs, square prongs, all set with small emeralds and prongs. The belt has double layer of prong channels. The sides are in white gold, and they have sapphire baguettes on the top, and they have blue topaz on the sides set with prongs. I added some decorations between the stones, and the body of the ring may not seem like it, but that's the part that needs a lot of work. And like I said, I'm making the prong setting on the body of the ring, so let's get to it. And it's to show, I hesitated a bit before doing this live session, but I think it's important that people see that designing high jewelry is not so fancy as it looks, and I'm going to show now why and explain why. The body of the ring needs all the prongs. This is a very special snowflake pave. It's totally custom made, and there is absolutely zero automatization to make this kind of pave. And that's where our job literally starts. Many people, they want automatization tools, and they ask computers and they ask softwares to make everything automatic, simple, fast and easy. That's what most people want and seek around the world, in every field, in every job. They want tools that make everything all the same at once, and automatization seems to be the way to go every time, because time is money and you need to go fast and everything must be easy with one click of a button. And supposedly the new generations are like that more and more. They want everything just with one click of a button, of a finger. You just click something and everything comes ready, solved, and it must work out just with one click. But the funny part of real life and making interesting things and developing things, objects or art, is that nothing that really matters, absolutely nothing, comes easy. If it comes easy, then ask yourself, there must be something that I'm missing somewhere, because real life is not an easy thing. It's just, it won't work with one click. You won't have it solved with just one good or bad decision, one click. So here we are with 3Design, and it's easily one of the best, if not the best, software for 3D designing. And it's already configured so that when I'm working adding prongs, let's start adding prongs because I need to keep adding prongs. The prongs shows up directly into place, in position at the correct size. So yes, the computer obviously is helping a lot in doing this job, this task, which is very specific to a fully customized high jewelry ring, which is something, and that's why I wanted, after hesitating a while, I said, this is something that many people won't see that much. It's something that you don't see in your everyday life. This type of ring, this type of customization takes a lot of hours to create and to make in 3D. And then, well, I won't go into the manufacturing that all this requires, obviously. This is not the matter today. But, well, I need to make the process of the prong setting on this snowflake pave. And, well, there are many misconceptions about jewelry design. People think it's very lyric and very creative, inspirational, and that there's nothing tedious about it, and that jewelry design is just pure fun. And here I am setting prongs on a fully customized ring, and there are literally hundreds of stones, and multiply, basically every stone needs 4 prongs. So if you have a couple of hundreds of stones, well, multiply that per 4, and you're gonna have almost 1,000 prongs. And that's what jewelry design is all about, my friends. It's a real work, it's a real job, and it's not for unexperimented people just fooling around with 3D softwares. So that's why I'm here making this live, because yeah, many people could say, well, this is so boring. And that's where everything changes. If you think that this is boring, then obviously you're never going to design this type of ring, because here what I was talking about is that every prong must be put in place at the correct size, at the correct angle, one by one. So obviously, let me show you the difference. There are, obviously, like I said, 3Design is the best jewelry design software that you could imagine. It has so many tools. So you see, is there a tool to put the prongs automatically into place? Well, of course there is, but let me show you why, and that's where beginners or people that don't have experience in high jewelry design, because it's a very specific field with very specific knowledge, with very specific tradition, with very specific problems, with very specific challenges. And many people, well, because obviously if you don't know, you can't appreciate and know the challenges that are still up to complete this ring, you know. So let me show you where it starts, and it comes from very simple logical issues and thinking and experience. Remember that I've been designing jewelry for the last 20 years, every day, non-stop, and teaching jewelry for the last 17 years, also non-stop. And now I'm teaching only to advanced people and this type of design. And also, if let's put the setting back in place there. This is why I stopped teaching to beginners, because there's so many things to explain to a beginner. And also, if the beginner doesn't have experience in jewelry making, all the processes of manufacturing a very advanced jewel in real life, if you don't have that experience and you're asked to design such a ring, such a fancy high jewelry elaborated ring, well, if you just look at it, you're just going to say, oh, this is very easy. Well, there are many stones and there are many prongs, and yes, but it's very easy, you know, just one by one. But the thing is, if you don't have experience in manufacturing such jewels, as a jeweler, soldering, setting the stones, polishing, all the polishing problems you're gonna have, it's so easy to mess up the manufacturing of this jewel. And that's also why there are not so many people and businesses designing and manufacturing this type of jewels. It's really, well, obviously, if you don't know, you're going to say, but what's about it? It looks so easy. But there, and also about 3D modeling this. That's the mistake that many 3D, and that's why I wanted to make this video, is that here you can understand why, as a 3D modeler, I have a very specific field of activities, because it's not, there are many more complicated 3D objects, 3D models. You know, I generally talk about designing characters or human figures or even vehicles. I don't know, a plane, a car. Cars generally do have more advanced NURBS and curve for the interior of the car, by example. So a 3D modeler that looks at this is going to say, oh, but this is very easy, this is symmetrical here and there. And in fact, the structure, the basic structure of the ring at a 3D geometrical level is not that advanced. That's true. But then you will commit a very wrong interpretation of the task that you have to complete here. The big difference and the big challenge about jewelry modeling, 3D jewelry modeling, that the other areas don't face and almost never face, is that my 3D model here is going to be 3D printed for jewelry manufacturing, for gold casting, for gemstone setting, for polishing, for soldering. Obviously not set in the proper order, because you don't make the soldering at the end, obviously. So it would be for casting first, then soldering, then filling, sewing, milling, polishing, stone setting. That's a more logical order for the manufacturer. But all of that, a 3D modeler doesn't know nothing about all the processes of high jewelry manufacturing. And that's why there are not that many people that are in fact and in reality able to 3D model properly a high jewelry model and get paid for that. And then if there's a problem during the manufacturing, because when the jeweler manufactures this model from my 3D model, if there's a problem during manufacture, I'm the one responsible of the problem, because I'm the 3D modeler, I'm the designer, and I'm like the jeweler, I'm making the ring. If I say that this stone goes there at that size, with these prongs at that size, into this position, I say that, and it must be true, because this is going to be manufactured in real life, and the cost, and only the economical cost of making this product, because this is obviously a very expensive ring. We're talking about what, $30,000 maybe, or even more, depending on the quality of the stone, easily. So let's say maybe 50,000, or even we could easily reach $100,000 for this ring in real life. We're not talking video games here. Even in a video game, it could cost like that now in the metaverse. So anyway, so imagine, but also the time it costs to make this, not only the money, all the effort. All right. So just imagine the responsibility I have as a designer if something goes wrong. And believe me, things go wrong, obviously, because on such a complex model, we can't just foresee every aspect of the manufacturing. Obviously, we should, no? But also, when you have experience, you know that something somewhere is going to go wrong, because that's life, that's real life. And like I said earlier, if nothing goes wrong nowhere, then you should be worried. Okay, so I was talking about making the pave automatic, making the prongs automatic for these stones. So let's take the stones. That's the prong. Okay, and let's go to the prong setting tool directly here, and let's click. Okay, so what's going to happen? This is what you get when you use an automated tool like prong setting in any software. Cheap software, free softwares, or very expensive professional softwares, CAD softwares like Design, which it's an expensive software, but it's worth every penny of it. And Design is always and was developed at first for jewelry design. So all the tools in Design are optimized for my job, actually, exactly for my job, which is creating crazy, amazing jewelry, over-the-top jewelry in as fast as possible. That's what it is. So obviously we have all the tools, but then there's experience and knowledge, and that's, like I said, the only way to know what you're doing in the 3D software is to manufacture jewels. And like I said, I've been manufacturing jewels for the last 20 years. And yes, very complex high jewelry jewels, not also very simple. Sometimes people don't tell me, don't talk about your life. We don't care about your life. And And I always answer, dude, check your facts. It's very important that I talk about my experience as a professional, so you just know your place in the world based on your knowledge and experience and what you're doing. So yes, it's very important that I do talk about what I do in my life, what I did in my life, to explain what's happening on the screen, because it's not the same if you're listening to a beginner jeweler that has absolutely no idea about what's manufacturing something, compared to somebody that has been working the last 20 years every day doing this in real life and getting paid and living from doing just this. So I know a couple of things about gemstone setting. And when I say a couple of things, I've been setting gemstones myself, and not just 1, 2, or 3 gemstones. I've set hundreds and thousands of gemstones in my life. Very fragile ones. Obviously, I had also accidents with gemstones. I've broken a couple of diamonds even. If you're a gemstone setter and you never broken a gemstone, you are not a gemstone setter. You're just a liar. It's like to compare with the medical field. If you're a surgeon, sometime, somewhere in your professional life, somebody is going to die in your hands during an operation. That's real life, and that's where we must learn. Imagine you're a surgeon, you're working, you're trying to operate somebody, and some operations, like a heart operation, something very, very hard to perform, and all the knowledge you need to have, all the book knowledge, all the studies you need to know, and all the practical experience you need to know to perform, and even to be authorized to perform that operation. And well, even like that, someday you're going to fail, and somebody is going to die in your hands, because, well, that's real life. You're going to mess up one day. The big difference and then as a human person, well, obviously you're going to face a huge crisis, and that's where you need very specific values or qualities as a human, because, well, you could just say, I failed, I'm not good for this, and stop doing what you're doing. And that's why I always talk about life and real life and what I have lived, because it changes all the perspective of what I'm explaining now. Because obviously the depth, the emphasis, the projection of what I'm talking about is a lot wider, because as a jeweler, as a gemstone setter, I had to survive accidents. And in our practical life as gemstone setters, I always say, we don't have people in our hands, we have gemstones. So obviously people are more valuable, and as a surgeon, if somebody dies in your hands because of your mistake, it's obviously a lot more complicated to find a way to keep doing your job. But somehow, somewhere, there are, well, to explain, a gemstones come from nature. They're not synthetical. So imagine you have, let me put it on screen again. Okay, so let's say in real life, this is a Colombian emerald, which, like I said, the cost of such an emerald that size, not just the economical cost, but let's say the cost. Let's say maybe this one costs $50,000. Okay, it's expensive, but it's not. Let's say money comes and goes. But that's not the problem about this emerald, the cost of the emerald. The thing is, where did the emerald come from? It comes from the depth of the earth. And to take that emerald out of the mine, out from the dirt, from the earth, humans, poor people, or rich people, some are rich, some are poor. That's not also, you might be a very good person and have no money. So being poor is not about just not having money. You can be rich and be a very bad human person. So it's not about money. It's about the work it takes, the human dedication it takes to take this emerald out of the ground. And believe me, it's a huge endeavor first to even find this emerald in nature. Just try to find one that big. It's unique, and it's unique on the planet. There's just one emerald that big. Obviously not just one, but there are. It's very hard to find one. So the value, and also because it has been generated by the geology of the earth, by the volcanic activities and all of that, thousands and thousands of years ago, millions of years ago. So that's why also, if you don't have any knowledge about gemstones and you're watching this video, obviously you don't understand the proportion of what I'm talking about and the gravity of what happens. And believe me, it happens even to the best. And I learned, and it happens that one day, as a gemstone setter, you are going to break such a gemstone. Maybe not such a gemstone, because generally when you're working on setting such an expensive gemstone, you're supposedly the best. So maybe you won't break that gemstone, but somewhere, someday, like I said, you're not going to have somebody die in your hands, but you're going to have a gemstone break in your hands, which is close to losing something irreplaceable. And you know that only if you know all the story of the geology process that it takes for such a gemstone to appear in nature, and then all the work it requires for a lot of people taking the gemstone out, and also then, because first you need to find the gemstone and then very professional people must cut the gemstone cutters. They also have a very challenging work, because faceting, making all the cuts, the geometrical cuts for such an emerald, oh, believe me, man, it's a huge endeavor, because it's very easy to break such a mineral, because emeralds are very fragile. All right, so there are dozens of people taking the gemstones out of the mines, and believe me, many people die in the intent of taking the gemstones out of the mines. Some are slaves, some are under military imposition. So taking out the gemstone. Then there are all the people working on cutting the emerald. And also, if you're a beginner, you won't understand, but why do they cut the gemstones like that? Why don't they leave them raw as they are? Well, because they shine a lot more, and you put in the color, the value of the mineral shows and shines 1,000 times more when it's properly cut. And cutting the gemstones is a very hard work. But then also then comes the gemstone setter with the gold jewel in his hands and the gemstones in his other hand. And just by the way, if you drop the gemstone's going to break as easy as it is. So imagine how careful you must be, how skillful you must be to set this type of gemstone. So I'm the one designing this jewel. So just now you might slightly understand why all the fuzz and why I have an entire channel dedicated to jewelry design, and why, yes, it's much more to it than meets the eye, and a lot more of knowledge of what's behind the jewel, because that's something also I want to talk about some other day. That it's not just because it's fancy and expensive and luxury, and because many people, when they see a jewel like this, for them this is the epitome of the worst in society. Money, you know, fat money, or even illegal money. Okay, a lot of money. And that this type of jewels, they just show all the bad aspects of human life, all the wrong aspects, you know, superficial aspects of the human life. But that's because you know nothing about the history of jewelry and jewels and gemstones and all of that. You might not be into this type of designs. Maybe you like, you prefer to see a rose design, I mean an organic design. Maybe you're not into such type of cocktail rings with that many fancy settings and small gemstones and so many gemstones. Maybe you prefer very simple jewel with just one gemstone and a nice dolphin, or maybe a little dog next to the stone, or like I said, a flower next to the gemstone, and that's about it. Maybe that's what you prefer. But we are professionals, and if somebody asks me to design a ring with just a flower and a gemstone, yes, maybe I'm going to do it. Many people pay me to do it, and I do it. And maybe I do it in 5 minutes, or maybe I do it in 1 hour, or maybe I do it in 30 minutes. But believe me, I was not trained to do that. And the softwares, like 3Designs, they're not being developed to make that. And that's the sad part also in real life, that people just want the softwares to make a ring with just one gemstone and just one round shank for the body of the ring, and that's it. Well, understand that this is about as ridiculous as it gets, because all that technology to end up doing just a ring with one stone, and you don't need much knowledge and background and experience to do that and manufacture that and sell that. But that's also why the jewelry business, it's not progressing much, because people are using technology in ridiculous ways, and that's about it. All right, let's go back to automated prong settings. So this is what you get with automatization. It's we could say, ah, okay, it's nice. So we could use the automated tool and have the prongs. But first, the automatization is going to give you all and just one size of prongs. I could create a list of sizes and all of that, but anyway, the problem is going to be, and that's why what I was explaining and showing at the beginning, that in such a ring, because all the gemstones have different positions and sizes, automatization or even artificial intelligence is not yet able, and believe me, there are still, well, let's say even maybe 10 years, we're not there, and we're not close to be there in this type of designs. Artificial intelligence is not yet able to solve, well, yes, it's able to solve it, but the thing is, the tools to use the artificial intelligence in the jewelry field, they're not close to be developed yet. So and even then, all right, so the problem is, to a professional, the problem is already obvious. The places of the prongs, the size of the prongs, they won't come out the automated tool. It's not that straightforward, straight, easy, click a button setting. It's a snowflake setting. The position and the size of all the gemstones vary all the time over the surface. The body of the ring is not that complicated, but the setting of the stones, because they're not straight like on the central setting. The central setting has rows and columns on the sides and all of that, and straight lines. The belt is easy. It's a saying, because obviously even the belt is not easy, because the belt has 2 levels of settings, one at the top, one a bit under. So the angle of the cuts, they're obviously not that straightforward anyway. But let's say the central setting is a bit easier. In fact, it might look harder, and the body of the ring with all this snowflake setting, that looks very easy, because just put gemstones there and then just, okay, let's put the gemstone. Putting the gemstone is not very hard. That's not even true, because you must fit that many and also the height, because there's in this ring, the most part of the problem of designing the body of the ring is that the gemstones, they're not at the level of the metal, they're coming out. They must come out, because this body, this shank, this design has borders, and you need borders to make it pretty. So the gemstone must be at the height of the border and not of the inside of the ring. So they must come out, and that makes the entire design a lot more complicated. Then you must fit the gemstones, and yes, it's also, there are also automated tools to make the pave, but believe me, you don't use these for such a design. Well, the point is, in such a design, everything is handmade. It's a custom design, and placing all the gemstones, it's a handmade process. That's something that's, let's say, the conclusion of all I'm saying about and talking about now. And that's why I say, well, while I'm doing the process of making the pave, so here I'm using the pave, which has a lot of automated functions, but like what I was saying, I need to place each and every prong by hand, and there are almost 1,000 prongs. There's a bit less in this ring because we just have a couple of hundred stones, but like I said, you must multiply basically per 4. If you have 200 stones, you can easily count that you're gonna have 800 prongs. 200 stones, 800 prongs, okay? And this is how it goes. And yes, I must place, even if in the best software, that's not because of the software, that's because of real life. And that's why also I started talking about real life, all that's behind such a jewel, because the problem is just, and it's not also because the 3D model is so complicated. Like I said, in many areas in well, maybe in architects, maybe not. Some buildings are more complex structurally because of the amount of floors and structures and artistic things that you can place in a building, and making like the Opera of Dubai, by example, of buildings like that, or a bridge on the engineering side, or an engine. But like I said, yes, many 3D models are more complex than this cocktail ring. But technically, that's where each field has very specific requirements. And that's where jewelry design becomes one of the hardest, because it is. And that's where some people are very easily fooled, because many jewels, they look so easy, but then when you start talking about manufacturing the jewel, the designer, if you're just a 3D modeler and and many make the mistake, you know, I know you must make money. You want to make money making jewelry designs. Okay, that's great, but like I always say, you need to become a jeweler first, make a lot of gemstone settings, make a lot of jewelry drawings, really study jewelry, and then you will just start to understand the problem of what jewelry design is. And obviously it's one of the most underrated activities, but we're well paid. That the field knows the difference between a real because there are not so many 3D jewelry designers. There are many people making designs in 3D and their jewels, but that doesn't make you a jewelry designer, because it's not just about making 1, 2, like 20, 40 designs. That still does not make you a jewelry designer, or even 100 or 200. The thing is, then, what about manufacturing your designs? So, okay, let's start 1, 2 thing. Let's say after designing a couple of 100 designs and manufacturing each and all of them, you can start saying that you are a jewelry designer. But the designer is part of solving the manufacturing of the jewel, not making more problems. And that's where 3D modelers that think that they can design jewels make the biggest mistake. Yes, you can make the model, but you have no idea on how to manufacture the model. And that's your job. The designer must know exactly how the jewel is going to be manufactured. And that's why I always say first become a jeweler and then become a jewelry designer. And that's why also there are not so many good jewelry designers, even in 3D, even not in 3D, because most people, they don't, it's hard to have the time and take the time to really, well, get the experience as a jeweler, and also because who is going to hire you if you have no experience at all in absolutely nothing. Because that's what happens when you first want to become, and believe me, you basically just don't want to become a jewelry designer, because there's not that many. Well, anyway, well, because it might seem very fancy and easy to say, okay, let's become a jewelry designer. It looks so fancy and things are so expensive that yes, I'm going to be paid very well. Well, many jewelry designers are paid, let's say, like for this, $10 maybe. For this design, $10. For $10, I would not even move a finger. Not because I'm lazy or that I don't need money, but also because I know all the work it requires, and also at what price tag this jewel is going to be manufactured. So, well, basically, to really be a jewelry designer requires knowledge of many different areas, and then also to be good at 3D modeling, just like any 3D modeler using any 3D software. So it's not that much fun. It's not that fancy and glamorous and luxury and so obviously nowadays I could be designing this at the beach. Actually, I should I should go and designing at the beach, because it's not that you well, you obviously need a pretty capable computer. So yes, you do need to invest in a good computer if you're going to have jewelry models with that many gemstone and that many prongs, because obviously things are going to go well. If your computer is not fast enough, it's going to be very tedious to be designing this. And also, like I said, in any software, and even well, by example, obviously 3D design is very efficient, so it means that you don't necessarily need that much of a powerful computer to use 3D design. 3D design is very friendly with the hardware, very fast, and even on old computers, let's say. But that's obviously not the best idea to not have an up-to-date computer when you are going to design very fancy high jewelry, complex jewelry. Even if, like I said, jewelry design generally, even in organic jewelry, doesn't have the requirements to really be that complex, that much complex as a 3D model compared to other industries. But yeah, believe me when I say that many people make the mistake of thinking that, oh, jewelry design, this is so fancy, this is so nice, and I'm going to be rich just because it's jewelry design. Nope, bad idea, wrong idea. And also then they don't really study all the human life, the human history. That's like I was talking earlier, that there's a lot of human history behind jewelry and all the social and cultural reasons, because that's what many people simply don't know. All the history inside the jewelry making process. Humans have been making jewels for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And then people totally forget all the social and cultural implications of jewelry. Because the jewelry field is, quite honestly, very much put to the side all the time by anthropologists, by archaeologists, by history, by culture, and just put to the side. It's a pretty jewel. And then people don't realize all the cultural and human value of jewelry and why humans, because just ask yourself at first, but why are we making jewels in the first place? It's like, who said we need jewels? Like, who said we need to cut gemstones like that and like this, and why it ended up being like that, and why do we need gold, and why this and why that? People don't ask that. People just say, gemstones, gold, luxury, a lot of money. Oh yeah, I want to presume my money. Okay, let's buy jewelry. Let's make jewels. And it is the most ridiculous side of jewelry. Because the usage that people give and what people ask for their jewels, well, that's a totally different thing. But that's also the culture, the new culture of the jewel. But anyway, that's a lot of fun. And but that has a lot of, well, it has a lot to do with our job. But that does not define jewelry through the entire human history. But just like I was saying earlier, ask yourself, but why do we make jewels? What are jewels for, in fact? Just to show how much money you have? Is that really what jewelry is about? Is that really all there is to the jewelry history, through the cultures, all the cultures? Just also, well, obviously, to know a lot about jewelry, you must know a lot about history and anthropology and sociology throughout the ages and all the cultures of the world, and also all the religions of the world, and the manufacturing processes and design throughout history. Like also, why do make the story of fashion, by example? I always say that the story of fashion, of cloth making, because fashion, let's call it cloth making. We need to wear some clothes, so we need to make clothes. That's where history of fashion began. Well, jewelry also began like 80,000 years ago. Let's put it at 100,000 years ago. That's when jewelry making started, from what archaeologists know. So, and here we are in the year 2021. Well, almost ending, because it's already December. I should not forget that. The year is almost ending, but here we are, 100,000 years later, making jewels. And supposedly we're making that just because money, because they're expensive, like, let's make money, let's make jewels. And that's why also I'm not a very common jewelry designer or jeweler, because in fact I it's not just like the money making machine that the jewelry industry is that got me into making jewels. Compared to many other people who run the big business, like the big brands, and these guys, believe me, yeah, they just care about money. And yes, that is sad. I think that every human being on the planet that just run his life around money is a very sad person and is a very poor. The more you run your life about money, the poorer you are as a person. That's a given fact. There's nothing to discuss about that. That's just a fact. If for you just be, oh, that's expensive, oh wow, I want that, oh, my phone is the most expensive phone, oh, my car, it's the most expensive car, oh, my house, it's the most expensive house, oh, my jewels, they're the most expensive jewels, oh, wow, wow, wow. Well, you're a poor human being. You're just literally useless, no matter how much money you have. Your value is not based on the money you have. So the jewelry, the importance of jewelry also in human society is way beyond how much money it costs. There are very important jewels that are not made of expensive materials. Most people don't know that. There are many jewels that are made for religious reasons, for sentimental reasons, for historical reasons, and all the cultural reasons, all the sociology reasons behind the jewels. They're very, very important. And it's funny that every time I talk about that, many people don't want to listen to that, or they don't care about that, because like I said, many people are in the jewelry business to make money. This is what they're interested in. They don't care why we make jewels, as long as we make money making jewels. But like I said, if you want to get better at what you do, you must understand why you're doing it. And if the answer is just because I do this to make money, and that's the only reason you're doing this, you're not a well developed human being. You must develop yourself as a person way beyond just the concept of I'm doing this to make money, because you ended up like that. But as a human person, you have a soul, you have feelings, and that go way beyond making money. So, and you say, I know, because I love making money. Yeah, okay, that's cool. Maybe you just need to make money, but also ask yourself, why do you need to make that much money? Is that a good thing? Because also there are people that don't need to make that much money to be happy, you know? Or maybe, but it's because my lifestyle is very expensive. And you believe that that makes you a better person. Well, that's already a problem. That's already a problem. But people, they don't want to listen to that. People, they just want jewelry tutorials, 3D designing tutorials, and they tell me every time I talk about, no, not every time, that's not true, because I answered, man, the success of my channel comes exactly from the fact that I talk a lot more about jewelry, and I talk about jewelry in a way that, believe me, no other channel is going to talk about jewelry like this, because, well, it happens to be that I really have decades of experience as a jeweler, as a teacher, and as a jewelry designer. And yes, I make money with that. So I can tell you. But I was poor. I was poor at the beginning. I was poor. I could not even. And people think that because I studied jewelry in Switzerland, because yes, I did study jewelry in Switzerland, I was necessarily rich and it was easy. They also have a lot of misconception about countries and real life. You can be in Switzerland, and even if maybe your family has money, it doesn't mean that you have money and that you get that money and that things are given to you just because I want that, let's give me that, let's pay me that, let's buy me that. No, that's not the way it went at all. I basically had to go through walls and destroy walls because basically I had and also because my family has absolutely nothing to do with jewelry at all. So it's not that, oh, my dad was a jeweler and I just got a job as a jewelry designer and here we are and shalala and so easy and blah blah blah. No, not at all. Not at all. I had to travel through dimensions, and I had to travel through nonsense, and I had to travel through deserts and through mountains and through seas. I had to travel the world to be able to first, well, also, and get to the point that I became a jeweler. But the story is far from being all just easy and friendly and all of that. I had to fight against a lot of people. There was a lot of discrimination against me because I have a very specific, no, not specific. Well, anyway, I won't talk about that today. Let's keep on with the prongs. So, yeah, we're just even halfway there. I don't even know what day I just even forget the day, which is amazing. When you forget what day we are, it's just amazing. You forget time. You forget everything. Okay, this is it. Yeah, but also yes, it's important because, like I was saying, already quite a few person have asked me for my biography, let's say, but I never really have the time to do that, so I can do that partially over some videos, and in the end it's hard to have like the big picture, and I think well, to everybody there's a biography on why they ended up doing something, and also because it was not necessarily a choice, and I think that when you end up doing something not just by choice but by or because more well, there's a saying that necessity is mother of all the virtues, and that's something very true, which means that when you're in a situation that you know that absolutely nobody is going to defend you, protect you, put you in a safe position and protect your safety, because I got to that point in my life where absolutely nobody, not my brother, not my father, not my mother, not my friends, nobody was going to guarantee my safety. I got to that point in my life in Switzerland. And not because only of materialistic realities. It was a lot more on emotional realities, and most of the time people underestimate the fact that if your emotional safety is not guaranteed as a human being, you're in deep trouble. You're in a deep problem. You're in a lot of problems, in fact. And money won't save you. But also, in Switzerland. I never got to the point that I had no money to eat. In Switzerland, I always had enough money to eat. But then later, when I came to Mexico, in Mexico during 1 year, and not just when I got here, I was safe. I had money and I was safe. But then also a couple of years later, again, my safety was not guaranteed again, and then it was worse because I did not have money to eat during 1 year, and I have nobody to help me out of that. So when you go through that kind of problems, first, well, also people don't believe you. That's one of the main reaction I get is, no, that's not possible. That's not true. Because people, yeah, I know many people or some people are very good storytellers, but I never really was a good storyteller because I don't really like to make things up. And yeah, my story looks like a made up story, obviously. But well, you take what you want from what I'm talking about. But generally, I tend to like history more than just stories. But history is like trying to get the fact right, to know where you came from and where you ended up, and why, and what happened on the way, because one thing leads to another, and that's why I love history, and also the history of jewels, because jewelry is linked to so many fields of the human knowledge and the human experience. And it may be not even just the human experience, because also like we often compare humans to animals, like monkeys, they're very clever and they're able to understand that and do that, and humans come from monkeys, etc., etc. The Darwin theory. And why not? And sometimes we find similar behaviors. Like, we know animals can smile, they can laugh, they can have fun. We know that because if you have a dog or a cat, very very easily you can see that your furry friend also goes through pain and happiness, and yeah, you can see your dog smiling or your cat smiling when they're happy. But there's something that animals don't do, and that's jewelry. That's one of the things that animals don't do. And that's why generally it all comes to the question, like, why do we make jewels? Because they say that there's no necessity. If you say that jewelry is luxury, well, just by saying that, in fact, you're totally you're stating a total a huge contradiction without even noticing, without even knowing. And why is that? It's like jewelry is luxury. Let's say that's a very common phrase. You can read that every day in the medias, in the oh, I don't know how it's called in English. Fashion magazines. Okay, in magazines, in any kind of magazine. Jewelry is luxury. Luxury is jewelry, etc., etc. Okay, but there's a problem with saying that, because luxury is something that you don't need. It's the definition of something. Yeah, luxury is that. It's something that you don't need. It's something that it's not vital for your life. So based on that aspect, it's totally true. It would be totally true that jewelry is luxury. So the answer would be that we make jewels to make money, and that's it. That's the jewelry business, and that's the only, and that's it. That's exactly that. That's true. It's the truth. Surrender yourself to the truth that jewelry making is just a big business about making a lot of money, because luxury makes billions of years per year, and it's growing. It's one of the most growing industries. But let's think about that a bit more. Let's start trying to understand, why do we make jewels? Because first of all, did human waited the invention of money is quite recent. Well, let's say a couple of 1,000 years ago. We can say 3,000 years ago, roughly. But did the humans wait for the invention of money to start making jewels? Well, obviously the answer is no. No, that's not true. Humans were making jewels, like I said, roughly, well, archaeologists say now 80,000 years back. These are the first trails of jewels made by humans. And or we can roughly say 100,000 years ago. And obviously back then money was not invented yet. So then you can say, well, you basically the first commerce and business back then, there were exchange. You would make a jewel, and then somebody would make a cloth, a pair of pants maybe, or something like that, and you could exchange that. You can exchange your jewel for food, or exchange your jewel for, and actually that was a huge part also of the importance of jewelry in history. The power of exchange, that the jewel was a type of currency, because it's exchanging a jewel for food or for buying a horse when you were traveling. In many countries, that was something very important. The jewel as a way of exchanging and making commerce. That is true. But then, and also, like I'm already talking about that cultural exchange and commercial exchange, there was something very peculiar with your jewels, that when you were traveling, and also that's already a recent period. I'm talking about thousands of years ago. Let's say 3,000 years ago. So it's quite recent compared to 100,000 years. All right. Well, your jewels, when you're traveling from your city to, or from your town to another town, when people in the other town would see your jewels, they could easily say, ah, you come from Damascus, by example, or you come from that city or that other part of the world, because they would recognize your jewels, they would recognize the type of materials that your jewel would use, the shapes and the techniques of your jewel were very, 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 very specific to each and every town. You could even just travel 10 kilometers and get to another town, and people making jewels in that other town would make them with very different materials and very different techniques. And that says already a bit more about what jewelry is in the first place: identity. The jewel says, well, it used to say, because obviously nowadays that's something that basically got lost. Not entirely, but most of the time. So, identity. And then something starts to become different. Jewels were not really a luxury at the beginning. They were, let's say, even never a luxury. And it's very easy to let's talk about what's the life of a jewel, but also what's the life of every person, rich or poor. When you're a kid, rich or poor, no matter where you're from, you can be from Japan, you can be from Africa, you could be from Latin America, you can be from United States, you could be from the Eskimo tribes, you could be from any culture around the world. Any. And this is the most profound truth that I can tell you about jewelry, and that's why I had so many experience about teaching jewelry. Well, you can be from any tribe, any culture, any religion. As a child, if you would find something shiny on the floor, no matter what, metallic or gemstone or whatever kind of material it was, you would find, and boy or girl, no matter also your sexual orientation, as a kid, as a little kid, maybe 3-4 years old, already walking, already running, you would find something pretty, like a shell, like a special piece of wood with a special color, or a piece of glass from out of the sea, or something shining on the floor. Your first intention and reaction is to grab that. You want to grab that. No matter your religion, color, race, religion, size, rich, poor, whatever, your first intention and action is to pick it up. You want to pick that up. And you want to wear it. You want to show the world, look, I found something colorful. I found something shiny. I found something special. I found something special. And that is exactly what jewelry is all about. I found something special because I am special. Everybody wants to be special and feel special. And that's exactly how jewelry was born. No matter when, but you can say why exactly. And that's why saying that jewelry is a luxury is the stupidest thing that you can say. And that's what everybody says. And yes, people say stupid things because people don't think what they're saying. They have no clue about what's going on. And they say things because people say things, but they don't know shit about nothing. And here they go. Jewelry is luxury and we don't need jewelry because jewelry is a luxurious item and it's just vanity, it's just appearance, it's just money, blah blah blah, blah blah blah, blah blah blah, and people don't know shit what they're talking about. Jewels were born with humans. Jewels make us humans, and it's a necessity to express our special me. We are special. We want to be special. We want to be different. We want to be, I'm not like you. Look, I found something shiny. It's mine. And you don't have it. I have it. I'm the king. I'm the best. I'm different. No matter if you're black, white, yellow, gray, red, if you're Muslim, a Catholic, and a theist, it doesn't matter if you believe in God or not, in whatever, if you pray or not. You want to wear something you found as a kid, and you want to wear it, and you want to show the world, I am. Look, I am. I have that shiny thing that you don't have. I am special. I am me. I'm not you, I'm me. And jewels, they were born like that. And actually, that's a magnificent story. And that's why we make jewels. We don't make jewels to make money. And that's also why I always say, and now I'm going to repeat it now that you know why I have that conviction. If you make jewels to make money, you're stupid. You're just stupid. You're just an ignorant, stupid person. And just right now, if you're making jewels to make money, stop making jewels. The world is going to say thank you. Do something else. I don't know, go play football, go selling drugs or whatever, but don't make jewels to make money. It's wrong. It's the wrong thing to do. Because jewels, they're not made to make money. So don't make them to make money. They're not made for that. And making jewels to make money is to pervert the jewel. Is to pervert the world. Jewels are made so that people can be special and be different. So don't make jewels do things that they're not made for. And actually, that's why you're always failing. Because the success is not that. Also, yeah, because that's a great truth. Maybe you're making a lot of money making jewels, okay, and you think you're successful because you're making a lot of money, but that's also a big mistake. That's a big mistake. That's one of the biggest mistakes people make in life. If you're measuring your success based on the amount of money you're doing, let's say like Elon Musk. Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. Well, okay, that's information. But as a person, is he really successful? I mean, you know how many things Elon Musk say each day, and he gets sued for that. That guy almost can't speak without being sued or suing somebody. I would not call that success. Or even you should not call that success. So if success is based on the amount of money you're doing and you think you're a successful human being, person, man, woman, cat, dog, whatever in this world, because you're making a lot of money and that's what's measuring your success, that's all you can really base your success on, is how much money you make and how much money you have. Well, like I said earlier, you are a very poor person, because you can't eat money, and money won't give you the reason why you're here. So you should rather, I don't know, you should, well, I do know. You should rather start measuring the success of your life based on how much do you know about what you're doing in life, why you're on this planet. And again, if your answer is like, I'm here to make money, well, then the answer already starts to become a bit weird. Am I here in this life to make money? That's my goal. That's the goal of my God-given life, is to make money like a machine, a money-making machine. That's what you are. No matter what you do. I'm talking about making money using jewels, jewelry making. So that's the reason you're here? Well, then start asking, is that really a good reason to be here? It's like, that's about it in my life. I thrive every day trying to be happy and not even being happy at all sometimes, like depressing myself, going to the gym or whatever, and eating and fighting against my other fellow humans to make more money than they do, and to be more successful than they do, because I have more money and I can buy more things and more expensive cars and houses and jewels, etc., etc. And that's the reason why you're here. Well, guess what? Jewels, they remember us. And in fact, that's exactly the opposite as jewels. Jewelry is luxury. No, jewelry is what shows you that you're not here to make money. There's many other things pushing you forward, and that you do have emotions, because jewels are very much linked to your emotions and to how you feel. And that's why, in fact, jewelry is not a luxury but a necessity, because like I was saying at a bit earlier, no matter where you're from, poor, rich, black, white, Asians, whatever part of the world, religion, culture you have, you are going to at least once in your life receive a jewel or gift a jewel to someone. That's a human constant all around human history, all over the human history, all throughout the human history. Someday, somebody is going to give you a jewel, or you are going to give a jewel to someone. That's an absolute universal constant. So we'll have to see if aliens do that. Maybe they do. But at least humans, that's a constant in the human behavior. You are going to want to wear a jewel at some point in your life. Maybe you will reject it and say, no, that's not for me, I don't wear that, etc. But you will have a connection to jewelry at least once in your life. And not just for money reasons, not just for your economical status. No. For a lot of other reasons, emotional reasons, cultural reasons, a lot of other reasons. So think again. Jewelry is luxury. And I repeat, if you say that and you believe that it's true, you're lost. You're just lost in the world. You have no idea what you're doing at all and what you're saying at all. You never really made the good questions. You even never made any questions if you believe that jewelry is luxury. You have no idea what a jewel is and what jewel make in the human culture and in the feelings. Well, just because, like I said earlier, the feeling. How do you feel when somebody gives you a jewel? You feel very special. That's how you feel. So if the jewel they're giving to you is poorly made, poorly designed, is not pretty, how are you going to feel? Special? No, you're going to feel stupid. And the people giving that to you is going to feel sad. And you're going to feel sad because of a jewel. Jewelry is not luxury. Jewelry is a necessity. It's a human necessity. But to know that, to understand that, to say that, like I'm saying that, and I'm saying that because I've been thinking about that, luxury, stupid, because it's like saying jewelry is stupid. Basically, when you say jewelry is luxury, just know at a cultural level, luxury is considered something useless and stupid because of useless. Because useless things or useless people, well, they're a bit stupid. So that's obviously when you're a jeweler, a jewelry designer, jewelry teacher, and basically people are saying, well, you're useless and stupid. Well, you could say, okay, that's your opinion, that's what you're saying. But then also it's like, but is all of this jewelry history and jewelry making and all the effort that goes in making jewelry, is that really, would that many human people, well, I know we do because humanity is in general so very, very stupid, and humanity does engage in activities that are totally stupid and useless, and they do that by the millions. But then again, also would be, if I'm doing something useless and stupid, I would like to know. Because obviously that's also where the difference begins. One day I ask myself, maybe I am useless and stupid of designing and putting that much effort into creating and making jewels. It's like jewels are a luxury, they're useless, they're stupid, so people don't need what I'm doing. So if people don't need what I'm doing, well, at least you should, when you're young, when you can, or when you're starting, or when you're doing something, you should ask yourself at least once and say, okay, if what I'm doing is useless and stupid, then okay, maybe I should do something else. Maybe. And not answer, okay, but it's stupid and useless, but I make money with that. Well, then, like I said, you're a poor person, because like I said, being rich or poor is not about how much money you make or how much money you have, because it doesn't solve your life, and it also doesn't solve your life in whatever comes after life. because you're not taking your money with you wherever it is that we go. Even if we go to nothing, well, all the money you made, it won't go with you, even to the nothingness. So yes, that's useless and stupid. It is. Well, jewels won't go with you either, but on why you're making things and why you're living life, this is going to come with you wherever you go. Whatever's next, even if there's nothing next, what you did and why you did it is going to stay here. And it's going to stay forever. So it's a way of it's going to come with you. All right, so one day I was there and people, and yes, there was that phrase in the fashion magazines like luxury jewelry, jewelry is luxury, etc. etc. And I was there like, but is that really what jewelry is? And I'm going to teach that to young people. I'm going to like promote that and to be engaged in something that useless, that bad, basically, because it's like, yeah, if something is useless, well, somehow it's bad. It's a waste of energy and resources and time for something that's just destroying human lives and creating a lot of social inequity. Like jewelry is partially that. Yes, it is. But then if everything is that bad in jewelry design, jewelry making and all that, and this is just promoting vanity and the ego of people buying very expensive jewels, and that it's all there is to jewelry, well then yes, the answer would be yes, making jewelry is stupid and totally useless, and yes, it's a luxury, we don't need it. The funny thing is that when you study history, and not just the history of jewelry, you will know that never, in no period, humanity stopped making jewels. And we can even talk about during World War II, by example. It's that extreme. People kept making jewels. In these periods, it was a lot harder to make jewels, and obviously because metals, it was very hard to get the materials you needed to manufacture gold jewelry. But then that's when the pewter and vintage jewelry was born in the 40s, because they used all the metal scraps they melted them together, all type of metal, bad metals, even lead, and pewter was born, and people started making jewels with those cheap metals, but they were not cheap. It was what you had. The only metal available was that pewter metals mixed together, and people kept making jewelry and people kept seeking jewels. And it's just one example, and it's a recent example. And well, like I already said, jewelry is a necessity. Even if that sounds surprising, in fact, like jewelry is a necessity. Because yeah, jewelry is luxury. That doesn't sound surprising at all. That sounds correct. It's like, yeah, we don't need jewels. We don't need all that crap. This is just gold and gemstones, and yeah, it's shiny, but it's useless. We don't need jewels. We can get rid of all. Let's imagine, yeah, we can get rid. Let's imagine we can get rid of all the books. Getting rid of the books is one of the first thing that happens during a war when you want to suppress the existence of a country, of a culture. The first thing you start doing is destroying the books. We all know that. But the funny thing, and you can see how the Spanish, when they conquered Latin America and started killing everybody here, one of the first thing they did was to destroy the jewels also. That's starting to be, right, that's true. That's because they were taking all the gold, but they did not preserve the jewels, because the jewels were made, I mean, Incas, Aztecs, Mayans, all the cultures that were here in Mexico and Guatemala and Salvador, Peru, and all of that, they made magnificent, and they make magnificent jewels. Some of the most magnificent historical jewels were made by the indigenous people before the conquerors came and destroyed everything. And we know that because some of the jewels were kept entire and saved by good or bad reasons, but were saved from melting because, yeah, by example, the Spanish conqueror, they would melt the jewels and send the gold to the Queen of Spain and the king. And so most of the jewels were lost. But that's also a cultural and a very strong cultural destruction, because that's what you want to do. All the cultural expression of the people you're subjecting, turning into your slaves, you want to suppress their identity. So yes, you burn the books, but you also destroy the jewels. Aha! Why is that? If jewels are a luxury, why would you destroy the jewels to suppress a culture? It's like, okay. So, yet again, it's just another example. Just another example just to show that jewels, they're much more than gemstones and gold. You know, the basic concept that people have, you know, shiny, 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 expensive, expensive, expensive. That's what jewels are. But also because the concept of what jewels are made of is one of the most problematic modern concepts. Jewels, they're not necessarily made of gold and gemstones. But if you go to the encyclopedia or the dictionary, it's what you're going to find, that jewels are made of expensive gemstones and gold. That's what jewels are supposed to be made of. But guess what? Wrong again. Oh, totally, absolutely wrong again. Wrong again. You're wrong if you believe that that jewelry must be made of expensive gemstones and gold or precious metal for whatever the reason. You're wrong. There are jewels made of paper, there are jewels made of wood, there are jewels made of plastic. You can make jewels with whatever material you have. It's an artistic cultural expression. That's what the jewel is. You want it or not, that's what it is. Way beyond your knowledge or ignorance or capacity or a business, or intention to make money using jewels. Jewels are a cultural and artistic expression. That's what they are. That's their essence. It's an identity expression. And like I said, it was easier to see that thousands of years ago, and that's why you should study history. If you want to make jewels, also that's a must. If you pretend to be a jewelry designer and you know nothing about history, about human history, and then also about jewelry history, because since when are we making jewels? And you never ask yourself that question, and you're supposedly a jewelry designer, you're no jewelry designer, just an ignorant prick doing stupid things. That you would be. That you would be. Trying and yes, making money. Like I said, and great for you. You're making money manufacturing jewels. Great for you. But then your life is as poor as that, as hollow as that, as useless as that, because making money is not useful. It seems to be one of the most useful things on the planet, but no, it's not. All right, so jewels are a cultural and artistic expression. That's what they are, an identity expression. That's why, by example, when people conquer another tribe, they remove their jewelry from them, they take their jewels from them in a conscious or unconscious way. Many people, and that's also why you should study conscious and unconscious behaviors, because it's like when you say jewelry is luxury, you're not saying that conscience in a conscienceful manner. And you don't know what you're saying, because look back in history, and you will see that it's not because you say something about, it's not because you say jewelry is luxury that it's real, that it's a fact, that it's true, that's what happening in the human exchange. Even if million people say something, say it long enough and it will become a truth. Well, sadly, it's true, but no, it's not true. It doesn't matter how many times you say something. If it's not true, it won't be the truth. It would be recognized as true for a period of time, but it won't essentially be true. So it doesn't matter how many people say something, it doesn't make it true or correct at all. And you should think a bit more about what you're doing, about what you're saying, asking better questions. And that's also one of the reasons why I stopped teaching jewelry. And that's true, because I never really said that like that, but yes, it's true. Because I was simply bored about people always making the same questions about how do I make money with jewels? How does a jewel cost? Blah, 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 blah. After a while, you say, yeah, okay, that's what people want from jewels. They want to make money. That's what they want. That's what they think that jewelry is good for. Jewels are great to make money. And that's it. And so every day somebody, how much do I sell that jewel? How much? Blah, blah, blah. And guess what? Boring. And of course, when I was younger, I would answer and give you all the speech I gave today, because that's what you start thinking. But what could I say to make my experience not boring, and try to understand? But then, is there nothing more to jewelry than just making money? And are we just here to make money making jewelry? Like, really, is that why it's all about? That this is really all about money. So then you start studying and you start trying to find answers. And you start noticing a lot of things. And you start noticing a lot of things that books or dictionary says, or that the establishment says about jewelry, that jewelry are made of precious metals and gemstones, and they're expensive item and luxury items, and that we don't need jewelry. Many books say that. Many people and magazines and shows and TV shows and movies, and it's a very common thing to say, even if it's totally wrong. Because obviously, yeah, I know, people generally don't analyze much, don't think much about what they're saying and what they're doing, and that's basically one of the biggest problems in life. That you have people that are here doing things just because I have to do something. All right, and then I'm doing this because I have to make money somehow. And on the other side are people asking themselves, why should we do this or why should we do that? So obviously the problem is when you start asking that question, yes, you are going to start a pretty nice crisis because there's no easy answer, and also because you're going to notice quite quick enough that many things that we do are wrong and bad. But then you also, and then you will end up your crisis seeing that yes, they're wrong and bad, but they're also good and fruitful and beneficial to many. And you will make that crisis loop, and you should, because it's called life. And you will come out of the loop and understanding that some things that we do are useless, and you shall stop doing useless things, and you will stop doing useless things and creating useless things, because if you don't need something, don't do it. You don't need it. Don't waste your time and money doing useless things. You can always find something more useful to do. And maybe making jewels for money is not that good for you, because it's funny that many people don't ask, well, okay, you're making money by example making jewels, or you want to make money making jewels, but is doing that really good for you and really good for people? Is there something else you could do that would make more people happy, or people even happier, you know? And stop considering money as the measure of success, or rather starting using another measurement for success, like, is what you're doing is making a lot of people happy? Is what you're doing really useful to a lot of people and good for a lot of people? Or on the opposite, is what I'm doing destroying people and making people sad? You should rather measure your success based on that, because you will notice if you're making people happy, you won't necessarily need money, because don't forget that what you need is to eat. You need to eat more than making money. Because in fact, it's what you do. You make money to eat and to pay the rent. So you need a place to live and you need food. That's what you need. And then you need jewels. No, that's a joke. That's another subject. That's like, why do we really need? I already talked about a lot, but it's not a closed matter. I can talk about why we need jewels a lot more. But you need to eat and you need a place to live. That's what you need. And that's why you work, because you're scared. And also check this one out. You work not because you need to eat and you need a place to live. You work the way you work because you are scared. You are scared of not having something to eat and a place to live. So the main reason why you're doing the things you're doing is not a happy, strong, good reason. Yeah, it's a strong reason, but a very bad one. Fear. Fear is why you want to design jewels or make jewels. In fact, for many people that don't ask themselves why they're doing something or what they should, yes or no, do something, is based on fear. The fear of many things, the fear of losing. You fear to lose whatever you have that it is, or whoever you are with. You fear to lose, like the fear to lose your job. The fear of losing your job, in fact, is the fear to lose what gives you food and a place to live. You're scared because you never really ask yourself, what really happens if you don't have money? It's the end of the world. And the problem is that, yes, for millions and millions and millions of people, it's the end of the world. If I don't have money, I don't have a life. The problem is that people forget that the world is full of people, good and bad, and that the most generous people are not necessarily the richest people. And the best human beings and people, the people who really know how to share, well, you can try that. If you don't have money and you don't have food, try to go to a rich person and ask for food. Ask a rich person, give me food, please. I don't have food. Well, most of the time what's going to happen is that rich person that could give you food very easily is going to kick you in the face because you're just an annoying, poor, homeless dude with no money to eat. That's what's going to happen. Now, try to go to somebody that is happy but has no money, but he has food and he is happy. And he sees you coming and says, you don't have to eat, right? Do you want food? Do you need food? Yeah, yes, I need food. I don't have food. And they're going to give you their food because they know that they have enough food and they don't they're not looking at how much money they have or how much money you have. And that's the problem of money. The problem is that people forget how to share necessities. So generally, it's the problem of having too much, and that's real luxury, having too much of things that you don't need, and that you can't share even, because the problem of luxury is that you can't really share. You can't really share it. You just like, you want to really overprotect it and protect it from from damage, you know, because obviously if you have a luxury car, well, you won't be sharing the car with the community, you know. You won't. Obviously, like maybe with one friend and take him for a ride. All right, let's go have a ride in my Bugatti. Yeah, wow, let's go. One time, once with one friend. Okay, you can't really share luxury. It's not good. It's not fun. It's even dangerous for luxury to be shared. It's going to be destroyed because luxury uh, is basically not that useful, and it's fragile. You know, luxury is fragile, and that's not such a good thing to be fragile. So there's all that luxury that you can't really share, and that's not fun because that's where it starts as yourself. Okay, you have all that, but you can't share it. You can't have fun with it. So where's the happiness in that? You can't even show it because if you have a lot of luxury, you must hide it because if you don't hide it, people are going to steal it. Where's the fun in that? There's not that much fun in that. So yeah, that all everything comes from many questions that are not properly placed and properly made at the right time in the right place. You should ask these questions when you can, when you're young, or later, and and well, it's it's important to make these questions because not that we're going to be able to change maybe that much, and no, we're not maybe able to change the world that much, and that's why I stopped teaching because I know that people will keep saying and thinking that jewelry is a luxury, even if in real life between people the exchanges, uh, like I said, people who are going to give you a jewel for any reason because they love you, because they want to love you, or they want to tell you that they love you, or somebody is going to give you a jewel to tell you that they love you, no matter where you're from, no matter how much money you have, and well, people will keep saying that jewelry is a luxury, even if it's not true at all. It's a way of saying things, or of trying to make the world simpler, even if the world is not simple at all, and even if the world is also simple at the same time, because it's like it's all about being happy, and everybody wants to be loved and appreciated and recognized, no matter where you're from. That's a human necessity, and and like I said, to establish that identity and that uh, and to be recognized, and and all of that, jewels are a big part of the process. So yes, jewels are a necessity. They're not a luxury, but we won't really change the world. And obviously, when I was younger, well, and somehow I did change the world because I had my own jewelry school for almost 2 decades. And well, it would, at least at the beginning, you do have that illusion that you can change the world. And that what makes you get up every morning, and you go and you say what's wrong and what must be corrected, and you're part of the correcting process, and saying and showing the example, and showing why we're really doing things, or why we really should be doing things. And no, we don't want a prong there. And at least at the beginning you have that illusion. It's a very important illusion. But obviously, as time goes by, you know that you did change the world somehow, because you're part of it, and being part of it already changes the world. But then also you see that we don't really change the world. We can change it in some places for some time, but the inertia of the world is something amazing. In fact, how things always come back to what they are. Even if maybe for 1 century or half a century, which is the duration of a human life, you have the illusion that you change the world. It's a pretty illusion. I think we need it. We all need it. And but I guess that asking yourself why you're really doing things, and if it's based on fear, that's something I will keep talking about. Yeah, because the problem of losing what you have or not having money to live, that's a problem. Because fear doesn't make you, well, fear disconnects you. If you fear, you're not in harmony with yourself, with the others. You're not in harmony with the world, because you fear everything is a menace to you, because everybody is here to take from you. So you will miss out on all the generosity of the world, because in fact many people, they want to share, they want to give, they want to participate, because it gives you an amazing sense of being useful. And that's part of our identity. We want to serve the world. We want to have a good reason to be here. And like I said, making money is generally based on fear of not sharing, of not receiving. It's like you think that if you don't make money, you won't receive anything. Nobody is going to give you anything if you're not making money. But then ask yourself, so how do people that don't have much money, how do they live? If the entire world is based on fear and not sharing and not giving and not being generous, what would be of the world if the world really was entirely based on your same fear of not sharing because people are taking away from me? If I don't have money, I won't have food. Well, do you think that every person in the world has money to eat? Even if it's a fact and you know it, that millions of people in the world don't have money to eat. And well, how do they do? How do they even eat just for one day? Well, sometimes they don't eat, yeah, because sometimes they starve. And but also sometimes they find generous people and they get food. So obviously that's why I said at the beginning that maybe if you experience that in your lifetime, Well, you could also maybe lose the fear that everything in the world is here to remove something from you or to take something away from you. And you might start living out of away from your fear of not having and starting a better reason to get up in the morning and to achieve as a person instead of let's make more money today. And that's why also sometimes it's one of the best thing that can happen to you in your life is to lose everything you have. Everything you have, all the money you have, all the things you have, and simply you get into an accident or something goes wrong, many things can go wrong, and you lose everything you have. And then you survive, and you look at the world, and you start seeing the world totally differently. And what seemed to be the end of the world of not having money, of not having anything, then you may start to realize that you can't eat money, and that you can't eat your furniture, you can't eat your car, and that necessities are stronger than money, because in fact it's the fear of not eating that is moving you every morning. And that's why you want to make money, because your fear of not having to eat is so big that you would do anything, even destructive things, against yourself, like working too much, like working in things that don't make you happy, don't connect you with the generosity of the world, of the universe, making really anything to make money, even killing somebody. You would do that. When you're not connected, you would forget that killing is absolutely wrong, the worst thing you could do in the world. You will forget that because you fear that you won't have food tomorrow, because you're so used that nobody is ever going to give you food, because you're not connected to life. You're connected just to the fear of not having money. Well, that's how it's going to go down. And